Every day, we're flooded with information from the media, news outlets, social media, and even podcasts. But here's the catch: despite all that information, most of us don't trust what we hear. In fact, a 2021 Gallup poll showed that only 36% of Americans trust the media. Yet, the same people continue to consume news at an alarming rate. Why? This is the paradox of our time. It's hard to escape the constant headlines, breaking news, and viral stories. But how much of what we see is actually true? Are we being manipulated? Or are we just too hooked to care? The reality is, the media shapes our world in ways that go beyond facts and figures. From political agendas to emotional manipulation, the media isn't just telling us what's happening, it's telling us how to think about it. In this video, we'll dive into why the media is losing our trust, but why we still can't seem to stop listening. We'll uncover the hidden forces shaping the news we consume and explain why we keep falling into the trap. Stay tuned to discover how the media has mastered the art of influence, and what you can do to reclaim your own understanding. Chapter 1: The Double-Edged Sword. Media's role in shaping reality. In today's world, media plays a crucial role in shaping our perceptions, influencing what we think, how we act, and even what we believe is true. But here's the problem: the more we consume it, the less we trust it. It's like a double-edged sword. Media shapes our reality, yet we question its authenticity. Research from the Reuters Institute found that only 39% of people trust news media. Why? Because the media has become a tool for narratives, not facts. Whether we're talking about news outlets, social media, or even podcasts, the line between fact and opinion is often blurred. For example, a 2021 Gallup survey found that 84% of Americans believe the media is often or sometimes inaccurate. But why do we keep listening to it? It's because media provides us with a sense of connection. When something happens, we want to know about it, even if we don't trust the source. It's like a car crash: while we don't want to see it, we can't look away. The media knows this. They leverage our curiosity, even when it undermines their credibility. That's why sensational headlines are so effective. According to The Atlantic, 60% of people say they've clicked on a headline just because it made them curious, even if they didn't trust the outlet. Media outlets also understand that emotions drive decisions. That's why we see so many fear-based headlines. Studies show that emotional reactions to news stories, especially fear and anger, make people more likely to share them. It's a powerful tool, but it comes at a cost. When emotions cloud judgment, it's easy to forget that a lot of what we see is crafted to evoke those feelings, not provide facts. Still, despite this, we keep coming back for more. It's a vicious cycle of attraction and distrust. Chapter 2: Behind the Curtain. The hidden forces controlling the narrative. The truth is, media is rarely as objective as it seems. It's influenced by hidden forces you don't see. Corporations, politicians, and even foreign governments shape what stories are told and how they're told. Media outlets depend on advertising dollars, and that dependence often leads to biased coverage. A 2020 Pew Research Center study found that nearly 70% of media revenue comes from advertisers, not subscriptions or viewership. Take the pharmaceutical industry, for example. A study by The Lancet found that 75% of health-related news stories in major newspapers are funded by pharmaceutical companies. So when you see a headline about a new drug, is it really about the drug's effectiveness, or is it part of a larger marketing campaign? The truth is often buried in the fine print. And it's not just pharmaceuticals. Big tech companies, oil giants, and even politicians fund media outlets to push their agendas. But it's not just about money. Media outlets are often aligned with political ideologies. Whether it's Fox News, CNN, or BBC, each has its own editorial slant. A Neiman Foundation report found that 74% of Americans say news outlets have a bias in their reporting, with the majority thinking that bias is political. Politicians and political parties also influence media narratives. When politicians give interviews, it's rarely to offer genuine transparency, it's part of a strategy to control the story. But the most alarming part? Sometimes these forces don't just shape the news, they create it. In 2016, it was revealed that fake news stories were being shared across social media platforms, spreading false information that swayed public opinion. These news stories were often created by anonymous entities with a political agenda. So when we consume media, we're not just reading what happened. We're often reading what someone wants us to believe happened. Chapter 3, Echo Chamber Effect. Why confirmation bias feels so good. Have you ever noticed how we gravitate toward news that matches our beliefs, even when we know it might be unreliable? That's because of something called the echo chamber effect. It's when we surround ourselves with information that confirms what we already think. Social media algorithms only make this worse. A Harvard study revealed that people who use Facebook are more likely to see posts that align with their political views. The result? A cycle of reinforced beliefs and fewer opportunities for balanced perspectives. In fact, a 2018 study by the American Psychological Association found that people exposed to news stories that contradict their beliefs are more likely to become defensive and dismissive rather than open-minded. That's why, despite knowing the media is unreliable, we still listen to it. It feeds into our bias, making it harder to break free from what we already think we know. The worst part? This bias leads to polarization. Studies show that people who get their news from one-sided sources are more likely to adopt extreme views. A Pew Research poll found that 57% of people who get their news from a single source think their beliefs are superior to others. This leads to a divided society where people see the world through vastly different lenses. It's as if we're all living in separate realities. But here's the twist: even though we distrust the media, we can't help but want it. The media gives us a sense of certainty in an uncertain world. We want to hear our opinions validated. And, as much as we know it might be biased or false, it feels good to be right. It's human nature. Don't forget to subscribe if you're enjoying this content and want to hear more about how the media shapes our world. Hit the bell so you never miss an update. Chapter 4, FOMO and the Media Addiction. Why we can't look away. If you've ever found yourself scrolling through social media, unable to stop despite knowing it's not doing you any good, you're not alone. The fear of missing out, FOMO, is a real and powerful driver. We all experience it, especially when it comes to media consumption. A 2019 Pew Research study revealed that 24% of adults check their phones for news, constantly. It's not just about staying informed, it's about not being left out. The media knows this, and they exploit it. Social media algorithms are designed to keep us hooked. Every time you scroll, you're served content that's been tailored to grab your attention. Platforms like Facebook and Twitter have mastered the art of keeping you engaged by feeding you the exact content you're most likely to react to. A report by MIT found that false information spreads faster on Twitter than the truth, largely because it triggers stronger emotional reactions. This emotional engagement makes it harder to break free from the loop. Why is FOMO so powerful? It's rooted in human psychology. Research from Harvard University found that people feel a deep sense of anxiety when they're disconnected from social groups, and the media gives us the illusion of belonging. By constantly consuming news, we feel like we're part of the larger conversation. It's like a safety net in a chaotic world. But here's the issue: the more we consume, the more addicted we become. Studies show that social media usage is linked to higher levels of anxiety and depression. A 2018 American Journal of Epidemiology study revealed that people who spend more than 2 hours a day on social media are more likely to report mental health problems. It's a vicious cycle. The media feeds our need for connection, but the more we engage, the more we risk our emotional well-being. Chapter 5, The Illusion of Objectivity. Is neutral news even possible? For decades, we've been told that the news is objective, just the facts, no spin. But is neutrality even possible? The answer is complicated. A Neiman Journalism Lab report found that 64% of Americans believe the media has a liberal bias, while 28% think it's conservative. The truth is, every news outlet has its biases, even if they try to hide it. The concept of objectivity itself is a modern construct. The idea that journalists can report without any bias is rooted in the early 20th century, when journalism was trying to establish itself as a profession. But today, objectivity is often seen as an illusion. Take headlines, for example. The way a story is framed can completely change how we interpret the facts. In 2016, The Washington Post was criticized for calling a protester a climber in one headline, but a raider in another. Same action, different words, different perceptions. Another way media outlets create the illusion of objectivity is through false balance. This is when both sides of an issue are presented as equally valid, even if the evidence strongly favors one. A 2018 study from the University of Pennsylvania found that false balance in reporting leads to confusion, especially on issues like climate change, where the overwhelming majority of scientists agree on the facts. When the media presents both sides as equal, it creates a false equivalence that misguides the public. Moreover, even neutral news outlets like BBC and NPR have been accused of bias. A 2019 media bias fact-check study found that NPR, despite its reputation for being unbiased, still leans left on certain topics. The truth is, even the best-intentioned outlets can't escape bias. We all carry our personal beliefs, and they inevitably influence how we report and interpret events. Chapter 6: Media Detox. Reclaiming your trust and understanding. If you're tired of feeling manipulated by the media, it's time to consider a media detox. Taking a break from the constant barrage of headlines and breaking news might sound impossible, but it's a powerful step toward reclaiming control over your own beliefs. A 2020 Pew Research study found that 61% of adults said they felt overwhelmed by the amount of news they consume. It's no wonder people feel disconnected and distrustful of the media. The first step in a media detox is to limit your exposure. According to Harvard Medical School, reducing time spent on news websites can lower stress and increase overall well-being. Instead of checking news constantly, set aside specific times of the day to stay updated. This creates a healthier relationship with the media and allows for more thoughtful consumption. Another crucial strategy is to seek out diverse sources of information. A 2021 Reuters Institute report found that people who read news from a variety of outlets were more likely to be well-informed and less prone to polarization. It's important to avoid the echo chambers that social media creates. By diversifying your sources, whether it's reading both liberal and conservative viewpoints or listening to international news, you can get a more balanced perspective on issues. Fact-checking is another key tool in a media detox. Websites like Snopes and PolitiFact are great resources for verifying information before you share it. Studies show that people are more likely to believe fake news when they don't fact-check. A 2018 science study revealed that false news spreads 6 times faster than true stories on Twitter, partly because people don't take the time to verify the information they consume. Lastly, reconnect with your own critical thinking. Don't let the media dictate your views. In his book, Amusing Ourselves to Death, Neil Postman warned that we've become passive consumers of information, letting the media control our thoughts. By practicing critical thinking, questioning every source and analyzing the facts, you can begin to trust yourself more than the headlines. A media detox isn't about shutting out the world, it's about taking back control. By limiting exposure, diversifying your sources, fact-checking, and thinking critically, you can break free from the cycle of media manipulation and start making informed decisions again. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights into how the media affects our daily lives and how you can make smarter choices in the age of misinformation.